Hello, world. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from IGP. Again, this is your unprofessional host for a professional program in IGP. I know that lots of participants are here right now who are watching with us this beautiful program, and today we are going to present our 270 program on upskilling leadership and managerial skills overview, which is the last part of this series. Before we move to the next, I just want to share something to you and want to hear from you. You can find this from several days. Our website is not working well, and after that also it's occurred from 1st November. Today is the 30th November. That means almost 1 month. But the one thing is that we are really happy that we have lots of well wishers here. And I'm just going to share one thing, that is, please note that IGP will be back again with all the supports, with all the power again. And IGP will not forget all the things previously, like your series certificate, your diploma certificate, your webinar series certificate, your webinar certificate without signature, with signature, mismatch some name. We just right now we just have only one thing, that is we have to take note, and after the problem we will be back again with the same speed as like as previous. So you don't need to think about that, just learn something new, and definitely you will gain lots of things from IGP, and that's true. And our new website is already in processing. In between few days we can launch our new website also, no problem. So we don't want to invest anything in the previous one, which is almost crashed, like 403 forbidden from today. Our no one participants can enroll, we know that. But this is a promise from IGP to you. You don't need to think about anything. You don't need to think about anything from IGP. We'll be back again with our full support again very soon. Right now, we have four eminent speakers with me in the backstage. Today we have one series, the last part of the series, upskilling leadership and managerial skills. Today we have overview part. So in this part, we already taken the fourth eminent speaker for part series part of our webinar. Today we have only Q&A portion. Today we have only Q&A portion. So in this part, if you have any kinds of query to our eminent speaker, you can ask your query from your end. Our all speakers are ready to deliver your answer. So we have four speaker, Ma'am Marin, Sir Joseph, Sir Kevin, and Ma'am Dias. So I would like to actually I would not like to introduce themselves because they have their own identity. So they will definitely introduce themselves. So I'm just going to invite all of them in stream. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, sir. We have four speakers at the same time. So today we have only Q&A. Today we don't have any quiz competition and any other phase. So today you have to just ask your question regarding the four previous topics, for previous parts, and our team will collect all the question and put into the screen, and our speakers will answer all the things. And after Q&A, we will run this program for only 1 hour, and after 1 hour, we will move for certification process. And before I leave the studio, I just want to remind you our website is not working well. So just collect the certification link and code. After that, we will open it for all, no problem. And if you If you don't have enough time to collect the code, no problem. We will open it for all. No problem. Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. How are you? Hello,
Hello,
ma'am
sir.
Maggie.
Good evening,
Sir
good
Chandra,
morning,
Sir Kevin, ma'am
good
Reyes. How are you?
afternoon,
Hello,
everyone.
sir. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Dear learners, it's a cordial request. Today we have overview session. So if you have any kinds of query regarding last four topic, you can ask. You can ask anything. And before move to the Q&A portion, Sir Kevin, would you like to please introduce a little bit about your previous topics as like as for the four speakers that our learners can guess the topics that they can ask the question easily.
All right, sir. Good evening to all the viewers. Um, this is a very exciting opportunity to all of us, actually, since we've been following the Institute of Global Professionals for a couple of years now. And with respect to the topic that has been given to us, wherein we've been giving our inputs as well as our expertise and experiences. We've been um, encapsulating the topic upskilling organizational leadership and managerial skills. So, technically, the topic that has been given to me is all about project planning, monitoring, and evaluation. Um, when we look at the technicalities of the project planning, monitoring, and evaluation, it is very essential, regardless if whatever discipline or whatever field you belong. Why? Because project planning, monitoring, and evaluation is the cradle of all the means and answering, much as providing interventions and solutions to all the present issues that are existing or occurring in our unit, institution, or the department that we belong. So last time, that was November 22, um, 2 weeks ago perhaps, I was very delighted and at the same time happy. I was able to share um, some of number one steps on how to conduct project planning, and number two, distinguish what are the essential difference between the native or the traditional approach compared to the result-based approach with respect to monitoring and evaluation. So we also had the chance to answer the queries of some of the audience. And right now, I am joined by my very competent colleagues, Mom Carlene, who will be sharing her expertise with respect to feedbacking, mentoring, and coaching. We're also delighted that we have Sir Joseph Nasol. His expertise is in line with community linkages and extension. And of course, we will not be complete without Ma'am Ermeline Diaz as the school-based management coordinator. So with this webinar series, we hope that you viewers were able to capture and harvest essential informations which we will be able to use in our future undertakings. That is why we encourage some of the viewers that if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to type it in the chat box. And if the nature of the question is for the corresponding expertise of the speakers that we have right now, then we will address and give inputs with respect to it. So that's it, sir. I guess we can also have Mom Carlene to share something with our webinar series, Mom.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Sir Kevin. So last time, that was November 25. That was Thursday, I think. I was able to deliver my topic, coaching, mentoring, and feedbacking. And there, last Thursday, I also, under that topic, I discuss who is the coach and who is being coached, and also the goals of coaching. We also discussed with the audience the differences and similarities of coaching and mentoring. And we also give tips on how to deliver good feedback giving. So that was for my topic last Thursday.
Thank you, Mom Carlene. And of course, we have Sir Joseph Mesol. Sir, would you be kind enough to somehow revisit and give complementary inputs with what has been shared by you last webinar series?
Okay, good evening, everyone. So it's my pleasure to be here once again with my colleagues and with you guys. So good evening, good morning, and good afternoon. So last time, I talked about the collaboration, extension, and linkages. I also tackle the importance of community, school, and other stakeholders for forming the learning experiences of our children. And I also take emphasis on the importance of collaboration. That collaboration propels organization, either school related or not, to become a learning organization. And by that, tapping those reservoir or resources, we're able to have this kind of dynamic partnership for a specific goal. Specifically, us, we are related to education, so we're able to uh, reach our goal for producing a quality education for our student with this kind of connection with the community. So that's it, sir. Thank you very much.
And I guess Mom Ermeline is currently having some internet connection problem. And all right, I guess she's with us now. Mom Ermeline, greetings to you. As we were mentioning, would you be kind enough to share something about what has been or what has transpired during your discussion in this webinar series?
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, everyone. So, last November 8th, the first webinar series wherein I presented about the role of SBM in school improvement plan. So, I discussed about what is SBM.
All right. So I guess Mom Erms had a poor connection in their area, but it will not stop us to proceed with our objective for this session. So if sir, if you may allow me, I have seen some questions in the chat box from Maribeth de la Cruz. The question is, all right. Um, the question is, what is the most important thing to consider before conceptualizing a project for any educational system in this pandemic period? So, um, since I am the one who shared with the topic project planning, monitoring, and evaluation, My take for the question of Mama Maribeth de la Cruz is we have to identify first the two important elements found in her statement. Number one is the conceptualizing a project and the educational system. So technically, we have to look at the quality. All right. So my take for the question of Mama Maribeth, the number one thing and also most important to consider in conceptualizing a project is the quality. So what I mean by the quality is you can think of so many uh, projects and at the same time solutions and interventions to the pressing issues that are occurring in our unit or in our institution, but we have to look into how are we going to implement its outcomes, to what extent will the outputs will be meeting with respect to its goal. So technically it's not really identifying the problem, because when we look at the problem it's already there. You only have to set priorities, which will be the first to be resolved, which will be the second, third, and so forth. But on top of that, you have to look at the very nature of which is the quality. I guess some of my colleagues could add um, to the question of Mama Rebet. Can we hear from Carlene?
Yes, sir. So thank you, Ma'am Maribeth, for that question. What is the most important thing to consider before conceptualizing a project for any educational system in this pandemic period? So first is the situation, I think, since it'll be a case-to-case basis in every institution, we have different situations. So you have to consider that. Um, I think the first thing that you have to do is to observe. Okay, keenly observed your surroundings. So, what is really important, or what is really the project that you need to propose in order to meet your goals? Then, after being a keen observer, then you proceed by an interview or perhaps a survey to know if that if to know if the project that you have in mind is feasible. So that's my answer for your question, Ma'am Mary Beth de la Cruz.
Thank you, Mom Carlene. And we also, before, all right. So after Sir Joseph, I guess we can go back to Mom Erms. Sir Joseph, would you like to add more?
Thanks so much, sir, and thanks so much, Ma'am Carlene. So I would like to reiterate what these two speaker had said. So it's very important for us to have this kind of observance, or this kind of some sort of situation analysis before we're going to have this planning stage. So in planning stage, we must first ask ourselves the current situation. We must assess the current situation or set to be situation analysis. Then after that, we must proceed to this kind of where we want to go, or what are the goals are we going to establish. And then after that, of course, after this kind of planning stage and so on and so forth, we must just have this kind of action plan. Our action plan must be said to be, you know, there are main action plans. There's no perfect action plans. It should be flexible enough, and it should suit to every situation. That we know that every situation, every future events is said to be inevitable or said to be uncertain. So our action plan towards our goal should be flexible enough. So that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sir Joseph and Mom Cardine. That's very substantial input. And we hope that Mom Maribeth was able to capture important details with the responses by my colleagues. And again, Mom Erms is, I guess, okay, go on, Mom Erms is back. Mom Erms, could you please share us something about what transpired during the webinar session of yours.
Okay, I'm sorry for this power in I'm sorry for this internet connection that I am experiencing right now. So, last time I shared about the school-based management, which is I discussed what is school-based management, the role of the objectives and role of SBM to SIP. Okay, what are the different cycles in preparing the SIP, and at the same times the objectives of SIP and the different process in doing or preparing the SIP. So that's it, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mom Erms. And I have not seen any questions yet in the chat box. All right. So just right now, allow me to read this, and I hope it would be flash on the screen. But if not, this question is for Sir Joseph Nasol. One of the audience that we have is asking, Sir Joseph Lasol, linkaging or establishing connections or partnership at present becomes harder and difficult. If you are in an environment wherein people or stakeholders are uncooperative and unsupportive, despite doing a lot of dialogue, orientation, and visitation, what are you going to do in order for you to get their support for school programs and activities? And after that, what concrete strategies should be utilized to solve this problem, sir?
Thank you so much for that wonderful question. So thank you so much, sir. So it's not visible, the person who asked the question. Anyway, okay, so it's very no, it's very challenging for us, even as teacher, had encountered this kind of situation wherein the community or specific unit of the government is not cooperating with us. But what is a strategy that we were able to use? I think is good follow up could be the first step. Okay, so it might be it would take a lot of time, but good follow up would be very beneficial because since the other organization outside our school is very busy, but if we're going to set a clear objective to them and able to we are able to deliver them effectively, we make those programs very simple for them to understand, then they will going to understand that program, and then they will know what are their part, what are their responsibilities for the education system in our school. Another one is we must connect our objectives to their wants and objective as well as the organization. For example, this organization have this kind of objective and interest. So our programs should be in line with their objective and interest as well, so that they will be engaged. Proper engagement is key for you to have this kind of sustainable partnership. So we're going to have this kind of sustainable partnership even amidst of this pandemic if we know their goals and interests, and those goals and interests of that kind of organization should fit in our program. So we must develop our programs and specifically target those organizations so that both of us have this kind of mutual understanding, and they will going to get something from us. You know, practically speaking, they should get a return of investment. Okay, I get something from you, you get something from me, so we have mutual understanding. So with that, I think there will be a common interest. So there will be going to be a solid partnership between the two of us, the community and the school. That's it, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Certainly, I also agree with the statements of Sir Joseph that one way really to establish connection among the units, institutions, and stakeholders with the challenges that we're facing right now is to give a two-way ticket. So one will be benefiting and the other will also be the same. So that will bond the two to really meet the objectives. And that's a very nice response from Sir Joseph. And let's go back to the question. Let's go back to the follow-up question. What concrete strategies should be utilized to solve this problem? I guess Mom Carlene will be kind enough to help us answer this since she is very good in terms of feedbacking and mentoring. So, Mom Carlene, would you be able to share us something?
Yes. Thank you, Sir JR, Sir Joseph Nasol, and Sir Kevin. I'm actually rereading the question right now. So our Facebook user made mention of the words unsupportive despite doing a lot of dialogue, orientation, and visitation. So it seems like um, our Facebook user who is asking or who is seeking help right now is really in need of an advice from us. Now, I have two words for you, ma'am or sir. Start small, okay? Show them that by you yourself doing your project is possible enough. And then I'm pretty sure that they're going to follow after they see the outcome of your actions. And after exhausting all the means, I'm sure afterwards they will follow you. They will see the leader in you. So, for example, as simple as here in the Philippines, let's say your project is gardening, but the community seems like are not, it seems like the community aren't interested with gardening at all. So, you start by planting in your own backyard. Then, once your plants grow, of course, you're going to reap the fruits. They will see the result. Most probably, not all of them, but at least one of the members of the community, maybe your neighbor, will also imitate you, will also do your weights. Another thing is when it comes to reading, um, others might not involve themselves into reading activities because they are really busy, but we have different means right now. We have technology wherein you can actually post different videos on how to encourage them on reading, like our program before, which is Mr. Reader, wherein we invited leaders of the community because we know that they look up to these leaders. Therefore, they feel inspired by that. And I'm sure that they will also do that to their children. And it'll be a domino effect for sure. Thank you, Sir
Yes.
Kevin.
Very well said to our two resource persons. And we hope that the question raised to us plays a significant input and at the same time serve as an instrument on how to really establish a very good connection and at the same time partnership among the stakeholders and at the same time what specific and concrete strategies should be utilized with respect to it as shared by Mom Cardine. So thank you for that. And now we have another question from another audience. The question is, when is the right time to measure the impact of the extension project implemented to the community? So I guess the question will be best answered by one of our resource person, Sir Joseph Nasol. Again, sir, allow me to read the question for you by one of our audience. When is the right time to measure the impact of the extension project implemented to the community?
Okay,
Very,
so
go ahead, sir.
thank you very much for that question. Thank you, sir. When is the right time to measure the impact of the extension project implemented to the community? Okay, so I think we can, okay, evaluation or assessment is done maybe at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end of the program. Because how are we going to know if the program is effective? So in creating this program, as I've said a while ago, we must take a look at this kind of situation analysis, and after that, we're going to create this kind of action plan. And this kind of action plan have two kind of monitoring process. We have result and process monitoring. With that kind of monitoring, we're able to know if the program is very effective. If it's not, we can modify this kind of action plan. So with that, we can have this kind of this kind of process. We're able to reach our goal, no matter how difficult it is, no matter how the program is very difficult to perform in this kind of situation, the pandemic. Of course, we're able to have this kind of sound product or sound result in order to cater our students very effectively, especially here in pandemic time. So it's very important for monitoring and evaluation to be done not only at the end of the program, but also uh, at the middle, a start, middle, and at the end of the
Yeah,
project. Yes.
yes, sir. We certainly agree with your statement. So we have to do the monitoring and the evaluation to specifically look into the impact of the project if it has been implemented successfully, not just from the beginning or at the end. So it should be done periodically. So we have to do it in a way that if there is the set date on which the outcomes are initially being recorded, then we have to do it so that, as what Sir Joseph said earlier, we can give immediate actions and intervention if there has been a abrupt changes and abrupt problems that um, surface during the implementation. And Ma'am Cardine, would you like to add some?
I think you've said them all, guys.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. All right. So Ma'am Erms is still having internet connection problem. And let's proceed to the next question from Manolita Ramos. Um, the question is, project monitoring is vital in project management as well as decision making process. But why is it often overlooked and only done for the sake of compliance and not to address the problem? I'd like to commend Mama Lolita for this very rough and at the same time very honest question. This is really exactly, this is what I mean is this is what exactly is happening in the institution or in whatever department that we belong. What we are really doing is we just look into the project as a compliance, and I certainly agree with it. Now, to address the question, why do people who are responsible or who are involved in the project monitoring overlook or disregard this? Number one possible reason is they have not undergone efficient and effective training. So, with that, if the members of the quality assurance team failed to receive extensive exposure with respect to the quality assessment and quality assurance, what happens is that they are not efficient and they are not capacitated enough to perform their duties and obligations, much as they are not even aware of what are the specific objectives and at the same time duties and responsibilities, or even job descriptions. So, with that, the number one reason, perhaps, that even influence these people who are part of the quality assurance team in overlooking in the implementation of monitoring and evaluation is they have not undergone extensive training. Number two, perhaps they are meeting a deadline. So if the deadline has been set in this given time frame, and then they only have a couple of days or a couple of weeks to this project to be done, so the people who are part of the evaluation and monitoring tend to sacrifice the quality. So if they tend to sacrifice the quality, that is the second reason why they tend to overlook the project monitoring and evaluation. And lastly, to wrap up the answer for the answer, yes, the answer for Mama Lolita is they are not really committed. They are not committed in a sense that they have not received a good um, what do we call that? They fail to receive good connections with their colleagues. So perhaps they have different priorities. So one may be doing other thing and the other may be doing the other thing. So there is a mismatch among the expected job duties, responsibilities, and tasks, resulting to overlooking of the one of the phases of project monitoring and evaluation, which is uh, which resulted to this statement or question of Manolita, which is they just do it for compliance. But we have to take note that I guess another point that we can ponder to the question of Manolita is if we have seen that these people are not really doing and performing their job with respect to project and project monitoring evaluation, the question at hand now is what are we going to do? So perhaps we can do small steps, as what Mom Carlene said earlier. These small steps can somehow make a significant change. So perhaps we can talk to these people or to the team leader of that group or to the head of that unit and relay this in a manner wherein they will not be hurt or they will not be questioned or they will not be feeling otherwise. So, with that, if we have observed that this series of actions are just being done for compliance, I guess the next question to ponder is what can you do to prevent it? Even though if you are not part of the team who are responsible for the quality assurance, then perhaps you can have initiated a small action so that it will not be happening all over again. So I hope I was able to answer the question of Ma'am Manolita. And hopefully in the near future there will be at least less type of these overlooking activities in project and monitoring. Um, thank you. And we're glad that okay, so Ma'am Arms is again disconnected. All right. Now, another question to any of the speakers from Jude Prial Ayala. To any of the speakers, the question is how to facilitate a more effective use of the schools, letter A, limited resources, and letter B, financial constraint. Ma'am Erms is with us right now, and I truly believe that her expertise will give more in depth understanding and in depth inputs to the question of Sir Jude. So I hope Mom Erms has a better connection um, compared to what happened earlier. Mom Erms, would you be kind enough to give us your thoughts to the question of Sir Jude?
Hello, sir. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, you're
Yes,
audible.
ma'am.
To the question of Sir Jude, that how to facilitate a more effective.
I guess so. These are just few of the occurrences that we can never control. So if we cannot control it, so we have to adjust with it. All right. So I guess we can also ask Ma'am. Uh, I guess before Ma'am Carlene, since Ma'am Carlene's expertise is more on feedbacking and mentoring as well as coaching, I guess we can have Sir Joseph, since for the record, he is he is um, the, if I get it correctly, the brigada coordinator of the school.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you please answer the query of Sir Jude?
Thank you, Sir Kevin. Thank you, Sir Jude Prial Ayala, for that wonderful question. So, to any of the speaker, how to facilitate a more effective use of schools' limited resources and financial constraint. Of course, we know that that term MOOE of the school. Of course, it will going to depend on how big the school or the number of students inside the school. Of course, if your school is very small, of course the resources or MOOE is also small. So how are we able to use it effectively? So it's very important to have this kind of well structured organization. So responsibility of every staff of the school is very clear to them, and as well as we must include this kind of the outside of the school, the community, in planning the different programs that uses financial resources. Now, in the event that we do not have this kind of financial resources, maybe because of the disaster whatsoever, the Department of Education only gave us a limited resources. We can tap the community, because the community is also responsible for the educational success of every single citizen. We know, you know, we do have this kind of saying that in order to raise a child, it takes a village, right? It takes a village to raise a child. So it is a responsibility of the community. So we must engage the community, the stakeholders outside, the internal or external stakeholders in planning different programs that could suit that will going to improve the educational system of our school. So a established organization that includes the stakeholders, and we must make things clear to those personnel, to the staff, to the stakeholders, what are the responsibilities, so that they were able to give this kind of support for us, not only financial, but different resources to our school. Thank you, sir. You are muted.
You're on mute, Sir Kevin.
All right. I'm sorry. We are very much grateful with the response of Sir Joseph, and we should agree with that. Now we have another question from again Mama Nolita, and this goes to Ma'am Carlene. Ma'am Carlene, the question of Mama Nolita is: feedback is a big part of leadership. Mentors and coaches are critical friends that use direct feedbacking. But why is it that some leaders in school organization are so defensive when there are feedbacks on performance and efficacy? Why are they so why are they skin so thin? So perhaps what Mama Nolita is trying to say here is, why do these people have this onion skin? They have this very little
Sensitive,
amount of
if I'm
patience.
using the right word. Sir Kevin. Can I
Yes, ma'am.
answer the question?
Go ahead,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir. Allow me to read again the question. Feedback is a big part of leadership. I agree. Mentors and coaches are critical friends that use direct feedbacking. But why is it that some leaders in school organization are so defensive when there are feedbacks on performances and efficacies? Why are they so thin and skinned or onion skinned? So Mama Nolita is referring to the leaders in the school organization who seemed so defensive with the feedbacks. Um, well, I think one reason why some leaders become so defensive is because one is the approach. So maybe um, the approach of the person towards the leader is so frank that um, it bursts her bubbles or her emotions. So, in feedback giving, one important factor is to be specific, but not to the point that we will somehow humiliate or embarrass the person. One important um, factor in feedback giving is it has to be timely. So make sure that if you're going to inform the person about, or if you're going to give your feedback to a certain person, whether a leader or a learner, make sure that it is warranted. Okay? If I remember it right, that was my discussion. Make sure that it is warranted, meaning the person should be ready. Okay? And you have to deliver it in a salient way. Just like just like in a classroom setup, whenever we give questions to our students and the student himself or herself answered an erroneous question, what do we do? Do we immediately tell the student, that's a wrong answer, sit down? Of course not. We do the probing, right? So you have to lead the learner to the correct answer until he gets it. Now, when it comes to feedback giving, you also have to direct the learner or the leader towards your intention without embarrassing the person or um without hurting the feelings of the person. Okay? And first of all, in coaching and mentoring, it has to be taken objectively, not subjectively. Okay? So I think the issue here is not just about feedback giving. I think it has a deeper reason or a root cause. You have to look into consideration also your situations before. Maybe um, you've shared something to the person that already hurt her emotions or his emotions. So there are a lot of factors to be considered. But for now, so it has to be timely. And the leader or the learner should be aware of the feedback giving. Okay, that's it. Thank you, sir.
All right. That's very impressive inputs from Cardine.
Hello,
Uh,
sir.
we, yes, Sir Joseph, would you like to add more?
I would like to add some more. I would like to share something to our dear audience. So I've learned this kind of technique wherein so that you know not all of our colleagues or co-teachers are strong enough to handle this kind of criticism. I know that's kind of feedback. So we do have, yes, Mom Carlene shared. Thank you, Mom Carlene, for that wonderful answer. Shared different kinds of feedback. Either it could be positive feedback or said to be, I'm not going to use negative feedback. I will going to use constructive feedback. Now I would like to share this kind of technique. This is called a sandwich method in giving feedback. Okay, first you're going to say the positive things about the performance of the teacher, for example, then followed by this kind of constructive feedback or set of negative comments, and then after that you're going to appraise them at the end. So it should be a sandwich method, so that at the end of the conversation there will be a certain kind of closure, and then in giving this feedback, yeah, uh, uh, Mom Carlene is correct. In giving feedback, we must know the person personally, so that we can adjust the tone of or the atmosphere of the conversation for it to become effective and become clear to the client or to the teacher. What are the things that they need to improve? Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for that, Sir JR and Mom Cardine. That's very um, important reminder, and at the same time, a major takeaway to all the viewers, especially on how to really handle situations like that. Most especially if our leader or our perhaps our school head or our uh, manager are having hard time to really accept the realities, and if they have these bigger egos. Okay, so that's a very nice inputs. And next we have a question from I'm sorry, from Elena Osmania. The question is, what are the best steps that we can gauge that a successful endeavor has taken already? Measures that we can see that program is successful. So I guess the question is addressed to me since this was my topic. Now, what will be the best step is first you must be very much aware of the what we call the monitoring and evaluation. As you go on with the monitoring and evaluation, Ma'am Elena, it already gave us an initial outputs or initial results. So it's like along the course of the project, you can already see if the specific targets or specific objectives that has been set in that particular date, in that particular time, has been met. So collectively, if the evaluation and the monitoring has been conducted periodically, for instance, for the first week, this objective has been met. So we have to put check on it. And after a couple of days, this target or this objective has been met, then we have to put an indicator that, okay, it meet the objectives satisfactorily. So we have to mark it as check or good. So looking at the transition of the monitoring and evaluation that transpired along the course of the planning and the time frame that has been incorporated during the project planning phase, we can already see little by little, and at the end of the tunnel, we can see and we can say, with the help of indicators, if all of which has been met. So, if the remarks said there that everything is fine, everything is well, everything has been met, and of course, all of which are also derived from the monitoring and evaluation from the previous weeks, months, or on the given time frame, then we can say that it's a success. Now, with respect to measures that we can see that program is successful, we have to be very much careful with the type of indicator that we are using. So particularly, we have to go back to the tools we use in the project planning. We have the work breakdown structure or the WBS. So this, I'm just referring to some of the tools because these tools are the specific measures for us to see if this project has been met successfully. So again, let me just put it into the record, Ma'am Elena. For you to measure if the program is successful, you revisit, you go back to the WBS or the work breakdown schedule. Next, you also go back to the Gantt chart. I guess Sir Joseph can relate to this. The Gantt chart is the tool that shows the the user on what particular tasks and activities are expected to be conducted in this specific dates. So if the project is met on time, you have to look at the Gantt chart as one way to see if your program is successful. I also remember the what do we call that? The the PER chart. The PER chart, which stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. So those are the specific tools which can help us to see if the is successful, and also to end my uh, statement to answer the question of Ma'am Elena. As I recall last time, I also suggested that you as the team leader, you can also conduct focus group discussion. So in this focus group discussion, you can also capture some experiences of the respondents which are beyond from the objectives, or sometimes which you are not expecting to be surfacing along the course of the implementation of the project. We can also have testimonies. So those two can also complement to really substantiate whether this specific activity is a success. So I hope Ma'am Elena was able to get important notes and at the same time takeaways with our responses po. And we are thankful that Mom Erms is with us right now. And uh, we're still waiting for another question. Um, all right. So from Mom Jonna Ashley Sanchez, as educators, how can you help the school administration in fulfilling the needs of students, especially those working ones, from a distance, if there will be a possible for face-to-face next year? Um, I guess, Ma'am Erms, since we miss you, Ma'am Erms, it's been a couple of minutes that you've been away from us. So, Mom Erms, would you be able to give inputs to the question of Mom Jonah?
Okay, thank you, sir. And I'm sorry. I'm really sorry for what I am experiencing a while ago. So I hope now that will be okay. So for Ma'am Diona, how can we help the school administration in fulfilling the needs of students, especially for those working ones from a distance, if there will be a possible face-to-face next year? So, first, ma'am, in this situation, we are considering the situation of our student. So we can give or propose program or project for those students who cannot go or go to the school to have the face-to-face classes like before. But then, as far as I know, in the Philippines, we have project or we have the program for those students that they can go to school at least once a week. They call that program, sir, um I
The
forgot the specific.
alternative learning system, perhaps.
So that is one of the example for the out of school youth. But there are some project that I I just forgot the specific name of that project that in a certain school or even in other school that they are already implementing that if this we have this working student, so they can make use or apply on that certain program, that they can go on to the school for at least once a week. Okay, so maybe for this question asked by Ma'am Jonah, we as a part of the institution, we can adapt also some program and projects implemented by the other school, so that we can make use on that for our school, especially considering those learners that are having some difficulties in going to school if they are from far areas, or if they cannot go on to the school having the face-to-face classes. And another one, we can still use also the modular type of learning, and this may help also the student, okay, to for them to um, still be connected in the school and give some special consideration on their situation. So I think so that will be some of the proposed or ideas for that question of Ma'am Diona, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And I guess Ma'am Carlene would like to share about this very interesting practice in our division office and other neighboring division offices, especially with respect to the question of Ma'am John, and also to complement the answer of Ma'am Ermaline. Um, Ma'am Carlene, please go ahead po. I guess, Ma'am, your microphone is mute.
Thank you, sir, for informing. I think other schools are also um, allowing students, working students, to be enrolled in their late afternoon class, wherein during daytime they're allowed to work, and then by afternoon they should make sure that they're in the class, ready for the lesson. So that's LAC, or the late afternoon class sessions.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Actually, that's also the first time that I've heard of the late afternoon classes. That's a good information that I was able to capture from my uh, colleagues. And what I'm just familiar is the alternative learning system wherein they have this freedom or the flexibility of time frame to really attend classes in the most convenient way um, that suits them. So perhaps just to summarize the responses by Ma'am Erlene and Ma'am Ermaline, there has been an existing projects and programs in our localities, especially in our institutions. Maybe I could also suggest that we can visit the institutions which our students or our child are currently enrolled in, and we try to talk to the heads of that institution and ask them what particular programs are existing so that we can avail those programs and be able to address the queries in our mind, and most especially the problems that we are encountering. So thank you for that. Do we have another question? Um, all right. So we have another question from Ivan Shane. My colleagues and my co resource persons. The question of Ivan Shane from watching from YouTube. What can you say to those leaders whose attitude towards their subordinates goes like, if one can no longer tolerate the stress brought by his or her job, then get out of the system? So I guess this is based from the experience, or based from the experience of others, or perhaps maybe from the inquiry of Sir Ivan. May I just forward the question to the best person who could give um, the best answer to the question of Sir Ivan? Ma'am Carlene?
Thank you, sir. Um, with all due respect to some leaders and even to learners, well, we are talking about our emotions here. So, therefore, the solution should be about targeting our emotions as well. So, I suggest that the whole organization should have um, probably focus group discussion, a heart to heart talk on how to remediate problems. And if these situations appear from time to time or happens from time to time, I think an anger management would be advised to not just to certain people but to the whole group. Um, let's not take this as a funny situation or this is something serious, especially because it involves our emotion and of course it involves our self-esteem. So probably there are some people who needs to undergo anger management. It'll be a big help. Okay, and
Right.
it's not a problem if we're going to consult um, specialists on this.
All right, thank you very much, Ma'am Carlene. Actually, even though I'm one of the resource persons, I really learned a lot from my dear colleagues. And yes, actually, there are really people who, even though they are in the managerial positions, they can no longer, or they are really struggling to control their anger or their emotion. So, what one major learning from the response of Mom Cardin is perhaps we can subject ourselves to anger management um, practice, and at the same time, let's not take it really as subjective, or let's look into it as if only one person is concerned in this issue or problem, but we have to deal with it holistically, because it's like we're just staying in one institution or in one department, and if we cannot get along all together, then of course all of the remaining um, collaborations that we'll be doing sooner or later will be very much affected. um, Thank you for that, Mom Carlene. That's very brilliant um, response, and we hope that Sir Ivan was able to have um, important details to resolve this inquiry. Sir, do we have another question, or do we have questions from the viewers? All right. So, all right. So, again, from Mama Nolita, my dear colleagues, the question is, one thing about Filipino culture is that we are not open to direct feedbacking, especially among leaders. They often see it as an affront to their position. Somehow, culture can be a hindrance to real paradigm shifts because mostly adopt status quo. The question of Mama Lolita, and I'd like to forward this to Mom Carlene. How can we possibly make progress if the first hindrance or block is culture, ma'am?
Um, well, somehow I agree with you, Ma'am Manolita. Definitely. There are really, most of the leaders actually are like that. However, Sometimes also it depends, especially if you were able to find the weak spot of the leader, okay? Knowing when is the best time for you to talk to your leader, knowing the right time, and knowing the right approach, perhaps you'll get along. And with, in addition to that, how can we possibly make progress if the first block is culture? Um, Somehow I think it doesn't matter because the bottom line is your attitude towards the person. Okay? It doesn't matter where you are from. I think it boils down into your respect to other people. Because in our school, we also have exchange teachers as a science high school. We also have exchange teachers, but we get along despite the differences in our culture. So for me, that's my response to Mama Nolita's question.
Thank you,
Thank
Mom
you.
Carlene. And yes, we truly have, that is why we can really relate to the question of Mama Nolita, because we actually every year we have uh, visitors from other countries, and we tend to reflect on what are the practices, what are their attitude, what are their behaviors in dealing with other people. So with that, we try to also accept their differences. So I hope Manlita was able to have a good or additional understanding to uh, raise question. And I guess Mom Ermeline also could add with this question, because I came across to this type of training that Mom Ermeline is also attending, the Global Citizenship Education. I guess that's very instrumental to also supplement the responses of Mom Ermeline.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, to give some feedback or answer or additional information to what Manolita's question, so how can we possibly make progress if the first block is culture? So, when we say culture, it involves different aspects. So, the first thing is we have to in culture we have to respect diversity, but if this culture is one of the reason that why we are stop or not going into a progress, we can say that there are some practices in our culture that really have negative impact to some part of our life. But then, if this culture, for example, if this example of a culture or practice that we are having, and this will be the reason that we cannot go on or cannot succeed to a certain project or program. So I think we must be open to those group of person that they must also look into a wider view, that this certain program or project may also help them, not without disrespecting their belief or culture. So I think diversity is one of the thing that we must first consider. But then, if this will be the reason that we cannot go on or move on for the progress, we must talk and explain and look into a bigger picture, that we are not going to disrespect those practices. So I think that will be the action or the response that we can share or do, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mom Erms and Mom Cardine. That's very nice responses. And I guess the key word there is acceptance and respect. Um, we have to really acknowledge the differences of the two. And I guess we have one more question from. All right, all right. So from Mom Delabel Manalo. Oh, I see. So the question is again another address to Mom Carlene. Mom Carlene, the question of Mom Delabel: how must we respond to the school leader who do not listen and analyze feedback from people who actually engage on tasks on the ground? This is really timely and relevant. Um, all right, so Mom Carlene, the microphone is yours.
How must we respond to the school leaders who do not listen? These leaders are not listening and analyze feedback from people who actually engage on task on the ground. So meaning um uh I guess this time I made mention about um talking or having a focus group discussion or by talking or by having a heart to heart talk. Maybe this time you have to seek help from your colleagues and ask your colleagues whether your perception about your leader is the same as them. Because maybe sometimes um, it might just be us, or we might be misinterpreting them, or so that's also one case. But what if really these leaders you have confirmed based from your colleagues also that these leaders are really not listening or accepting feedback? Well, you wouldn't solve a case if you will not talk to the person directly, whoever that person is. Okay? So perhaps you can talk to your leader, have alone time, and then you have to know where that person is coming from. Okay? Explain also your side so that you'll have this meeting of the minds followed by your emotions. Then after that, most probably you will have your connection and you will understand each other, hopefully. So, with a good communication, I think it'll be solved.
Thank you so much, Mom Carlene. And yes, but um, this is really timely, and there are really leaders who look at themselves as if they are above to their subordinates. So it also reminds me of the image wherein the leader is not the one who really gives directions, but the leader also tries to listen to his or her subordinates. And also, just to add, perhaps on my perspective to the queer of Ma'am Delabel, it's really hard to really deal with someone who is higher in your position. So perhaps we can also resort into asking or having a dialogue, as what Ma'am Carlene said, to, I guess, to the one who is higher than the school leader. Because perhaps the one who is higher than the school leader may be very much instrumental in making the dialogue happen. So perhaps we can ask help from the public school district supervisor, or if not, maybe the assistant school division superintendent or SDS. Then try to have a short dialogue as if it's not very much formal, but just a sharing of what experiences or observations do these subordinates had. So maybe that's a very good avenue to start. So that's it. And Perhaps while waiting for the next question, let me just read one of the reaction from our viewer, Mama Nulita. So a while ago, Sir Ivan asked a question, and then it was answered by Sir Joseph and Ma'am Carlene and Ma'am Ermeline. So Mama Nulita uh, have this comment. Sir Ivan, I agree 100%. I heard that comment from my own leaders most of the time. They always interrupt question. They are not listening to the response. They are listening to reply. And most of the time, they threaten. So yes, you're right. They say if you can't deliver and cannot follow, you cannot follow what's expected of you, then get out of the system. And Mama Nolita also shared that, Sir Ivan, you reminded me of that, and it really brings back a lot of negative emotions. So it's saddening that Mama Lolita was able to experience such occurrence in her life. But those experiences come and go. It's only the way how we manage, how we deal with it. But I'm sure Mama Lolita now is a changed person, and we cannot be very much affected right away by these um, changes in our environment. So I guess we can entertain one last question. Um, One last question. Let me just check the chat box. Um, okay, so here, perhaps this may be the last question from Sir Jude Ayala. The implementation of interventions or program in school is sometimes aided by stakeholders or sponsors. As such, apart from thank you, how a school can keep better relationship with them for a consistent assistance to future programs. So I guess I'd like to direct the question, this last question to Sir Joseph Nasol, since his expertise is more on community linkages. Sir, the question is, aside from thank you to these stakeholders that we're trying to work with, in a certain project, what else can we do to really strengthen the bond?
Though
And
thank you.
we
Yeah.
go on, sir. And we can expect them to be with us, not just for this years, but also for the next coming years. Go ahead, Sir Joseph.
Thank you, Sir Kevin, for reading the question, and Sir Jude for that question. Yeah. So though thank you is enough, I think. Just kidding. I think aside from thank you, for example, in our Brigada Escuela program, we included this kind of appreciation program for our stakeholders. You know, uh, it may be not as not required, but then it's very important for us for giving them this kind of appraisal or gratitude. Thank you for as a mean of for example, giving certificates, including them in certain program. For example, state of the school address would be best venue for them to be recognized. Sometimes organization uh, are are fan of this kind of recognition. So for them also to be heard, maybe a local government unit is very fond of this kind of recognition for them to to be advertised, for example. Though the return of investment is quite long, because if you're going to help a school, the return of investment, for example, you're going to tie up with the organization with this kind of with a company, a motor company, then the return of investment will be the employees. We're going to produce a uh, quality students that will going to be part of their company. That is a long-term return of investment. But maybe with this kind of recognition, we can advertise their company. We can also give them uh, at at a time in our program, especially now in pandemic. We are able to produce produce different kinds of projects and programs online webinar. We can include them for appraisal or recognition purposes. So that's it, sir.
Right, thank you so much. So before we end the session and we before we turn over the virtual microphone to Dr. Kamrul, allow me also to recognize some of the feedbacks from our audience from uh, Nuran Zaman Bal. It's a very interesting topic, and according to Sir um, Romel Hernandez, thank you, IGP, and to the speakers. And lastly, from Sir Eugene Estokia, very informative and knowledge-based approach. Thank you, IGP and staff. Uh, now, um, all right, from also from Emilita Pitar Villanueva, this is for knowledge, and I learned a lot from this webinar. Thank you for that. We now turn over the microphone to Dr. Kamarul. Sir. I'm doing.
Thank you, sir, for giving us a wonderful session. We hope our participants are enjoy this program. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
You're very much welcome, sir.